The wedding between Sawyer and me was nothing more than a political alliance between two empires. His family had produced generations of generals, heroes with glorious military achievements. Mine, on the other hand, had been merchants for centuries, wealthy enough to rival nobles. The army needed money to keep running, and my family had it. That's why Sawyer, a top-tier alpha, was forced to marry me, an ordinary beta. But as businessmen, my family also needed protection. It should have been a win-win deal. No one, however, expected that. The day before the wedding, Sawyer ran away. He fled. I chased him. Until one day, he finally snapped, shoved me against the wall, and growled, "Wesley, stop following me." I curved my lips into a smile. He rolled his eyes, completely unaware that I was already brewing a pretty wicked idea. When he wasn't paying attention, I leaned in and planted a quick kiss on the back of his hand. When he realized what I'd done, I even smacked my lips exaggeratedly. He was so furious that his pheromones almost went out of control. He shoved me hard. "Get lost. Don't make me say it twice." Leaning lazily against the wall, I raised a brow. "This isn't your place. If anyone's leaving, it's you." Then I grinned. "Of course, wherever you go, I'll follow." He was so mad he couldn't even speak. Finally, he muttered coldly, "Shameless," and turned to leave. But as soon as he opened the door, his body suddenly went weak. He collapsed to the floor. I rushed forward to help him, but he barked, "Don't touch me. Stay away." His breathing grew rapid, his face flushed red, and his hands fumbled over his body as if searching for something. Then, clink, a vial of suppressant fell to the floor, landing right by my foot. Oh, now things were getting interesting. My alpha husband seemed to be turning into an omega. I kicked the vial away with one swift move, and crouched down in front of Sawyer. He scowled, pushing me aside, but his body trembled in pain. He tried to grab the wall and stand, but his strength failed him. All he could do was crawl toward the suppressant, inch by inch. I leaned back against the wall, watching him struggle forward. Just as he was about to reach it, I darted over, bent down, and picked it up. Spinning the vial between my fingers, I looked down at him from above. From this angle, he actually looked kind of different. Then his leg gave out, and he stumbled right into me. Grinding his teeth, he threatened, "If you tell anyone about this, Wesley, I'll kill you." I leaned in close, smiling. "Oh, the Empire's strongest alpha general doesn't look so great right now." His breathing grew ragged. "Give it to me." I said, "Give it to me, Wesley." I crouched down in front of him, pretending to be clueless. "Give you what, my dear general? Me, or the suppressant?" He hissed through his teeth, "The suppressant. Hand it over." I shook my head. "Not yet. Let's make a deal first." I was just about to use this to make him agree to marry me, when he suddenly lunged forward, grabbed my face, and kissed me hard. The kiss wasn't gentle, his teeth grazed my lips, a faint taste of blood spreading between us. But strangely enough, his symptoms began to ease. Then, with renewed strength, he pushed me down, pinning my wrists above my head. He smirked, taking control. "So, what's your condition?" I glanced away nervously. Maybe this isn't the best time to talk about that." His kiss deepened, and I couldn't help but respond. Then, all of a sudden, he stopped. Effortlessly, he snatched the suppressant from my hand, and injected himself. "Oh, you don't want to talk anymore?" he said coldly. Crap. My heart skipped a beat. I nodded frantically and bolted for the door, only for him to catch me in two strides and grab my collar. Bang! The door slammed shut behind us. I was ready to cry. He sneered, "You know, no one who learns my secret lives to tell about it." Great. He's going to kill me. I trembled all over. Even as an omega, Sawyer's strength was terrifying, easily enough to knock out 3 of me. Fine. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I took a deep breath and said, "So, how about this? You marry me, then we'll be family. And family doesn't betray each other." His hand tightened on my neck, his grip unsteady. "Oh, family, huh?" I forced a laugh. "Think about it, you turned into an omega by accident. But everyone still believes you're the strongest alpha. You can't exactly marry another alpha now, can you? And me, I'm just a weak little beta. You can completely control me, and since I don't react to pheromones, I won't cause you any trouble. See? A perfect match. An omega who can't be marked, and a beta who can't mark anyone." He tilted his head, smiling playfully. For a long, tense moment, he just stared at me, thinking. Finally, he loosened his grip on my collar. "Fine, let's cooperate." I let out a huge sigh of relief, glad we're on the same page. When I got home, a crowd of nosy relatives immediately swarmed around me. So, how did it go?" Did you and Sawyer finally make some progress today? The memory of that kiss flashed in my mind, and my face instantly burned red. One of my aunts cracked sunflower seeds and burst out laughing. Look at him blushing. I bet something did happen. To avoid being interrogated any further, I slammed my hand on the table and pretended to be angry. Seriously? You all have time to gossip, but none to check how bad our quarterly numbers are. Does anyone here actually care about performance? I crossed my arms. Sure, I got Sawyer, but if you still can't secure the endorsement deal with Darius next quarter, I'll personally arrange marriage alliances for every single one of you. That did the trick. The moment I mentioned performance, everyone quickly scattered. My assistant handed me a folder. Here's the info on Darius. Darius, an Omega who'd been kept as some rich man's toy. Yet he'd refused our partnership again and again. According to the file, he was just an adopted son. And the reason for that adoption? Clearly to please some powerful figure. What they didn't know, though, was that the powerful figure they were trying to impress had already changed, from an alpha to an omega. So even if they wanted to please him now, well, good luck with that. I told my assistant to schedule a meeting with Darius that afternoon. Sure, I'd said earlier that if no one could sign him, I'd send the whole family off for political marriages. But honestly, I never counted on them. As usual, it was up to me. My assistant glanced at me, looking hesitant, like he wanted to say something. I lifted an eyebrow, pulled off my gloves, and said, out with it. He lowered his head and held up a mirror. Boss, your neck. I flipped up my collar. Several red marks stared back at me. Damn that Sawyer. Get me some bandages. He quickly handed them over. Boss, about the meeting this afternoon. Without even looking up, I replied, go ahead with it. The next day, inside the cafe, the time we'd agreed on had long passed. The coffee in front of me had been changed cup after cup. By the time the sun started to set, he finally showed up, unhurried, unapologetic. Sorry for keeping you waiting, he said with a teasing smile. You're not mad, are you? He wore a fitted leather outfit that clung to him perfectly, showing every curve and angle. No wonder people said he'd been trained to be irresistible. Rumor had it his pheromones carried a scent of sweet wine, the kind that made alphas lose control. Even I, a beta who wasn't affected by pheromones, couldn't help but admit, he was born to tempt people. Too bad I wasn't interested. I crossed my arms and said, you're hard to get a hold of. Then I pushed a folder toward him. Let's skip the small talk. I'm here to discuss your endorsement deal. This, I tapped the papers, is our best offer. He didn't even look at it. Instead, he snorted. I came today just to tell you not to waste your time. I'm not working with your company. I kept my voice calm. Is there something about our company you don't like? If it's about the terms, we can renegotiate. He turned his face away. It's not about your company. I just hate you. If it weren't for you, I'd already be with Sawyer. That caught me off guard. So this guy was that devoted to Sawyer, huh? I sighed. Our marriage is political. There's no real relationship between us. Who he likes privately isn't my concern. I never finished the sentence. Because I didn't realize there was someone listening behind the partition wall. Sawyer himself, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth almost cracked. He waved a waitress over and whispered something to her. Meanwhile, Darius suddenly leaned closer, sniffing the air near me. You smell nice, he said softly. I smirked. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. That's got nothing to do with what we're discussing. He shook his head. No, it does. He leaned even closer, breathing me in again. That's Sawyer's scent. He was getting way too close. His nose nearly brushed my skin. I pushed him back. It just smells similar, that's all. I'm a beta. I can't be marked. He still looked doubtful, so I added, if you agree to endorse our products, I can try to bring Sawyer in as the co-ambassador. You might even get a chance to appear together. He froze for a second, his eyes lighting up. You can really make him meet me? Before I could answer, a woman came rushing over. A glass of wine splashed all over my face. The hotel manager ran to apologize. The woman stammered, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my runaway Omega husband. I grabbed a napkin and wiped my face, half amused, half irritated. Darius just stared at me, completely dazed. Then his eyes widened, and he pointed at my neck. You were marked? I glanced down. The bandage on my neck had gotten wet and peeled halfway off, exposing the red marks underneath. I ripped it off and tossed it into the trash, muttering under my breath. Figures, my mom probably bought the cheap kind again. Darius pushed me away, tears filling his eyes. You liar. Then he ran off, crying. After that, I tried to have my assistant schedule another meeting with him, no luck. The next time he agreed to meet, I waited the entire afternoon at the cafe. By the time they closed for the night, he still hadn't shown up. Damn it, he'd stood me up again. That made it the 8th time. Every time it was some excuse, urgent matter, sudden illness, you name it. If he weren't the most popular Omega actor in the Empire right now, and if signing him didn't guarantee next quarter's sales skyrocketing, I would have blacklisted him a long time ago. I was frustrated but had to think of another plan. My assistant handed me an invitation to a banquet. "Sir, Sawyer will be there tonight too." I scoffed and pushed it away. "So what? That's none of my business." He wiped the sweat from his forehead nervously. "Darius likes Sawyer. Whenever Sawyer's around, there's a high chance Darius will show up too." At that, my ears perked right up. I snatched the invitation and told the driver, "Don't go home. Head to the Harbor Hotel." The moment I walked through the hotel doors, still wearing my sunglasses, a waiter stopped me. "Sir, are you here for the wedding?" I glanced at the invitation. Yes. I adjusted my shades, ready to go in, but the waiter blocked me again. "I'm sorry, sir, you can't enter." I blinked. "What? Why not?" I flipped the invitation over a few times. No way. Had my assistant been scammed with a fake invite? The waiter smiled politely. "The invitation is genuine, sir. However, per the host's request, they want every guest to share in their happiness tonight, meaning, guests must arrive as a couple. Since you have no partner, neither male nor female, you can't come in." I let out a sharp laugh. What kind of ridiculous rule is that? Still, if that's what the newlyweds wanted, I had to respect it. I turned to call my assistant to come back with me, but before I could reach him, the coward jumped on his scooter and sped off. "Sorry, boss. My shift's over," he shouted as he vanished. I stared after him, speechless, watching the exhaust fade into the night. "Unbelievable," I muttered. "Even he gets to clock out, and I'm still stuck working overtime." Just when I thought I was out of options, my miracle appeared. I rushed forward, grabbed his arm, and said brightly, "Sawyer, you're finally here." He froze for a couple of seconds, his voice cool. "Let go." I clung tighter, whispering, "Consider this a favor I'll owe you. Just get me inside, please." His ears turned visibly red. He was still telling me to let go, but at least he wasn't pushing me away anymore. Finally, he sighed in defeat. "Fine, I'll take you in, but don't cause trouble." I nodded eagerly. "Promise, I'll behave." He narrowed his eyes. "Stay close to me. Don't leave my sight." I gave him a mock salute. "Yes, sir, sticking to you like glue." He exhaled slowly. "All right." Once we slipped inside, I instantly turned into a sneaky little thief, eyes darting everywhere, searching for Darius. Sawyer shot me a glare. "Relax. Try not to embarrass yourself." "Got it," I whispered, and kept looking anyway. Finally, I spotted Darius among a crowd of Omegas. He was wearing a flamboyant pink shirt and a floral bow tie, surrounded by a circle of admirers hanging on to his every word. No wonder they were so captivated. He was giving a speech on how to become irresistible. The moment I saw him, I forgot everything Sawyer had said. Forgot Sawyer himself, too. I was about to step forward and hand Darius my card when I suddenly felt a tight grip on the back of my neck. A chill ran down my spine. I turned, and met Sawyer's dark, unreadable eyes. The sudden start of the wedding ceremony saved my life. Sawyer clasped my hand firmly in his, keeping me close, making sure I didn't try to slip away again. Maybe it was the romantic atmosphere, but I could clearly hear his heartbeat racing. Thump thump, thump thump. I leaned closer and murmured, "Sawyer, if your heartbeat's always that fast, you should really see a doctor." He lowered his head and mumbled an "oh." Who knows if he even processed what I said. My gaze kept drifting back toward Darius, completely missing the way Sawyer's eyes grew darker, colder. Finally, he lost his patience and dragged me outside. He shoved me against the wall, his voice rough. "Can't you go one day without chasing another man? You came here just for that Omega, didn't you?" He scoffed bitterly. "If that's the case, why bother pretending to marry me? Why beg me to bring you in? You should have let him do it." He leaned in, his breath hot against my neck, a mocking smile playing at his lips. "Oh, don't tell me you couldn't get him." I closed my eyes, forcing myself to breathe. "Don't get mad. Don't argue with idiots." When I opened them again, I was smiling sweetly. I took his hand, tracing my thumb lightly over his skin. "How could that be? You already know who I like," I said softly. "I've been chasing you for ages." That fool actually believed it. His ears turned crimson again. "Good," he muttered, shoving his arm toward me. "Hold on to me, then." I obediently looped my arm through his, and we went back inside just as the wedding reached the game portion. Faces flashed across the big screen. Then, freeze frame. Me and Sawyer. The crowd erupted. "Kiss, kiss, kiss." Sawyer's palms were drenched in sweat. His voice stammered, this, that." He kept his head down, avoiding my gaze, his blush spreading from his neck to his ears. People started murmuring, "Suspicious. What's taking so long? Don't tell me they're not actually a couple." The host started counting down. 3, 2, 1. "If you don't kiss, you'll have to take the penalty." I glanced at the punishment table, a cup of dark green mystery liquid. Leaning toward Sawyer, I whispered, "You want to drink that?" He shook his head quickly. "No, me neither," I said. "So, sorry in advance." Then I rose on my toes and brushed my lips lightly against his. The crowd went wild. Again. Sawyer buried his burning face against my shoulder, utterly mortified. The host mercifully stepped in. "Let's give other couples a chance." The screen spun again while a server handed us a small embroidered pillow. "This is a handmade gift from the newlyweds," the host explained. "It symbolizes sharing their happiness with you." I handed the pillow to Sawyer. "It's kind of cute. You keep it." I'd meant it as a joke, didn't expect him to actually take it, hugging it to his chest. He looked, honestly, kind of adorable. I mean, the pillow. The pillow looked adorable. The wedding soon reached the bouquet toss. Sawyer tugged at my hand. "Let's sneak out." I knew what he was thinking. He didn't want us to be unlucky enough to catch the bouquet. I nodded. "Fine. Darius will come out later anyway. I can wait by the door." We crouched and quietly slipped toward the exit. Then Sawyer suddenly yelped. The lights cut out, and music swelled as a spotlight hit us. In his hands was the bouquet, the very one that had just been thrown. I covered my face. "Great, of course." He stammered out a quick, "Sorry," and immediately tossed the flowers aside, grabbing my wrist. And then we ran. Under everyone's stunned gaze, we bolted from the hall, laughing and breathless. He didn't stop, no matter how many times I told him to slow down. When we finally did, we were blocks away from the hotel. I bent over, hands on my knees, panting. "Why are you running like the building's on fire?" He looked at me, dazed. "Catching the bouquet means we have to get engaged right there." He hesitated. "Wouldn't that be too soon?" "Oh, that's what it meant." I had no idea. I froze. He mistook my silence for rejection. His face fell, then tightened with anger. "So you don't want to get engaged to me?" He snapped. "Then what was all that talk about marrying me? Were you just playing with me?" "Not exactly," I started, but then glanced at my watch. Damn, the event was ending. I turned and sprinted back toward the hall. But by the time I got there, Darius was already gone. All I could do was tell my assistant to find another way to reach him tomorrow. A week later, something completely unexpected happened. Darius showed up at my office on his own. "I'm willing to cooperate," he said flatly. I handed him the contract, and before I could even explain a word, he grabbed a pen and signed it in one swift motion. Then he stood up to leave. I walked him to the door, still trying to process what just happened. At the threshold, he turned back, eyes cold and sharp. "You'd better treat my brother Sawyer well," he warned. "Otherwise, don't blame me for taking him back." When he left, I stood there for a moment, then grinned. Deal secured. Darius, signed. My mood soared. I whistled all the way back to the villa, pushed open the door, and cheerfully announced, "Surprise! Guess who just brought back some good news?" Silence. No one answered. Everyone was sitting on the couch, heads down, quiet as statues. That's when I noticed, we had company. Sawyer. He rose from his seat and walked over to me, sitting down with that lazy, composed air of his. "So," he said, crossing one leg over the other, "what's the good news?" I blinked. "Wait, why are you here?" He gave a short, cold laugh. "You're supposed to marry me, remember? I thought I'd move in and spend some quality time with my fiancé. Problem? He's moving in." I rushed to the window. Sure enough, moving trucks filled the driveway. I spun around, my voice rising. "Sawyer, are you out of your mind?" He didn't bother answering. Instead, he stood and said casually, "Where's your room? Show me. I need to see if the bed's comfortable enough. Otherwise, I'll just have to replace it. I have trouble sleeping in strange places." "He's planning to sleep here." I jumped in front of him, arms spread wide. "Sawyer, this is a marriage of convenience. No feelings involved." He glanced at me, expression unreadable. "Then we'd better start building some feelings. You don't think I'm here because I like your tiny, shabby villa, do you?" Tiny and shabby? This villa cost 13 billion. Was he insulting me? That was it. Enough was enough. I rolled up my sleeves. "Then please, by all means, leave this tiny, shabby place and go back to your glorious mansion." "Okay." He grabbed me by the collar and lifted me off the floor. "Move. Show me the way," he said coolly. "Don't make me use force." And just like that, I ended up sharing half my bed with him. Dinner was awkward. Normally, the whole family would be noisy and chatty. Tonight, everyone ate in silence, heads down, chewing at record speed. By the time I looked up, only Sawyer was left, cutting his steak slowly, savoring each bite. He finished half a bottle of wine by himself. Impressive tolerance, I had to admit. I'd wanted to slip away, but that plan failed miserably. So I sat there, stabbing broccoli with all the fury I could muster, quietly wishing he'd choke on his steak. When he was finally done eating, he dragged me upstairs. The moment we entered the bedroom, he slammed the door shut. I stumbled back onto the bed, heart pounding. Don't come any closer, I stammered. This marriage is fake, remember. Paperwork only, not bodywork. The anger in his eyes flared hotter. Wesley, he said, voice low and dangerous. There'd better only be one person you're in this marriage with. I blinked. Obviously. I don't have clones. He leaned down, his breath brushing my skin, a mix of sharp mint and the bitter tang of alcohol. Then why, he growled, did I see you with that adopted Omega today? What's the plan? Keeping him on the side? Or not planning to give me a title? Wait, what? That's not what. He didn't let me finish. He crushed his lips against mine, rough and demanding, his tongue forcing its way in, tasting, claiming, furious. When he finally pulled back, he straightened his tie with a look of smug satisfaction. Next time I catch you with him, he warned, it won't stop at a kiss. A fake marriage, and he's acting like a jealous husband already. Was it that everything he touched automatically became his? He grabbed his sleepwear and headed to the bathroom. Just before closing the door, he turned back and winked. Do you like my scent? My pheromones? I froze. Your pheromones? That sharp minty scent? His expression darkened immediately. What? You don't like it? His tone dropped several degrees colder. I waved my hands fast. No, I mean, I do. It's just strange. I'm a beta, I shouldn't even be able to smell pheromones. A slow, satisfied smile curved his lips. That's because I had them made externally detectable, but only for you. No one else can smell them. He's insane. You're crazy, I shouted. Do you even know how dangerous that surgery is? Pheromone externalization, it was a risky new procedure, trendy among HB couples, but still experimental, with high failure rates and nasty side effects. I couldn't believe he'd actually gone through with it. Sawyer frowned, clearly not expecting such a strong reaction. I just wanted you to know what my pheromones smell like, he said softly. His voice trembled slightly, eyes shimmering with something vulnerable. A faint blush spread across his cheeks. Maybe the wine was finally kicking in. I leaned back on the bed, hands pressed to my temples, a headache creeping in. Isn't there pheromone perfume? Just use something similar, I muttered. Sawyer's expression was serious, each word deliberate. That's different. I want you to smell something that belongs only to me. The surgery had already been done, arguing was pointless. For the first time, I felt my life intertwined with someone else's. It was like being kidnapped, but strangely, I didn't mind the kidnapper at all. I gently asked him to lift his shirt so I could check his wound. He hesitated. It's ugly, don't look. I shoved him down onto the bed. Stop talking so much. I examined the gland incision carefully. Sure enough, there was a scar, tiny, precise stitches running across it. My chest tightened. Gland surgery was done without anesthesia, because the glands were too sensitive. Any numbing could trigger uncontrollable side effects. It must hurt. He shook his head and gave me a small smile. Not really. Compared to getting hit by shrapnel on the battlefield, this pain is nothing. God, he's the kind of person that makes your heart ache. My fingers unconsciously hovered over the scar. His expression suddenly darkened. Wesley, don't touch that. I jerked my hand back, embarrassed. Go take a shower. Wait, a week has passed. Can the wound even touch water? Better not risk it yet. He grabbed a towel, waving me off. It's fine. A week's gone by. I heard the water start running in the shower. Alone on the bed, my thoughts were tangled. Maybe I'd pushed things too far. What if I really fell for Sawyer? What would I do then? Sawyer came out of the shower before I could answer myself. He pounced on me again, pinning me down. His kiss was aggressive, insistent, trying to pry my teeth apart, plunging into my mouth, tangling with my tongue. His breaths were ragged, face flushed unnaturally. Words slurred, he muttered. Wesley, you love me, don't you? I hesitated. Did I love him? Should I love him? Could I love him? I pushed him back. Sawyer, you need to sober up. You're drunk. Perhaps the hot water in the shower had accelerated the alcohol's effect. His intoxication spiked instantly. But then, unexpectedly, he started to cry. You don't love me, why don't you love me? Sawyer, so big, so strong, collapsed into my arms, sobbing. It felt unreal. For the first time, I truly sensed his omega side beneath the alpha facade. I ran my hands down his back, soothingly. Soft. Sawyer had always presented himself as an alpha. We all assumed he was the top of the hierarchy, never realizing the omega beneath the skin. Perhaps those months when he transitioned from alpha to omega were endured entirely alone. I couldn't imagine, being a top-tier alpha, suddenly told you might become omega. The mental collapse would be catastrophic. No offense to omegas, but physically, they are generally weaker than alphas, sometimes even weaker than betas. And omegas are especially susceptible to emotional and pheromone-based influence, hard to resist. Sawyer had maintained an alpha facade all this time. I shivered thinking of what he must have gone through. I pulled him into my arms, patting his back. Don't be angry, okay? He choked out. I just want you to know how I feel, to understand when I'm happy, angry, scared, jealous. Omegas expressed emotions through pheromones. I began to understand why Sawyer risked that surgery. His pheromones made externally detectable. He might love me more than I realized. Heat radiated from him. The whole room became suffused with a thick minty aroma, sharp, intoxicating, overwhelming. Then it hit me. Sawyer's heat cycle had started. He told me that he'd become omega after enemies sabotaged him on the battlefield, injecting him with a secret drug that changed his genes. That explained why his cycles were more frequent than in normal omegas. I laid him back on the bed. Don't worry, I'll get the suppressant. He pulled me into his embrace, pinning me down. No pheromones. Mark me. But I was a beta, couldn't mark him. Finally, I got up to fetch the suppressant, hands on his waist. Maybe it was time I considered the gland implantation surgery myself. Madness, only a madman could match a madman. Extra 1. Wesley, are you crazy? Do you know how dangerous gland implantation surgery is? Sawyer found out I'd done the surgery and came rushing over immediately. I thought I'd told him I was just going on a trip. How did he still find out? I closed my eyes, not wanting to listen. Anyway, it's already done. If you have the guts, you can tell the doctor to drag me back in and redo the glands on my neck. He was so angry he couldn't get a word out. You. I didn't hesitate. What you? You get to secretly do the pheromone enhancement surgery, but I can't do gland implantation. He was speechless. Does it hurt? He asked. Actually, the local anesthesia hadn't completely worn off, so it wasn't too bad. I thought for a moment, then threw myself into his arms and deliberately pinched my own thigh. Tears sprang to my eyes immediately. It hurts. His expression softened instantly. He pulled me close. Poor thing. Stay still. He turned his back to me, completely unaware of the triumphant smirk on my face. I whimpered mockingly. Sure enough, he said the words I wanted to hear. Baby, don't cry. I'll give you whatever you want. I immediately stopped crying, looking up at him. Really? He reached out to wipe the tears from my cheeks. Really? Whatever you ask, I'll agree. I flashed a cunning grin. I want to get the alpha glands implanted. Sawyer's expression changed slightly. One time is fine, but not repeatedly. I can't agree to that. Fine, one time it is, I said quickly, taking advantage of his hesitation to prevent him from backing out. Extra 2, Sawyer's perspective. I have a childhood friend, Wesley. Since we were kids, he's been shamelessly following me around. No matter how many times I tried to shake him off, he never left. I'm an alpha, though. I need to be generous. Later, I heard our families arranged a marriage. Me and Wesley bonded for life. Honestly, I was secretly happy. Compared to some random omega, I'd rather my partner be him. But then, the unexpected happened. During a war, the enemy used biochemical weapons. Hundreds of arrows, each tipped with a needle, rained down. I couldn't dodge them all and got hit. When I woke up, the doctors told me I might undergo secondary differentiation into an omega. I felt like the sky had collapsed. How could this happen? I was about to get married. I had to stay alpha. I had to keep fighting. I had to protect my beta, who was always running around boldly. I couldn't become an omega. I followed all the doctor's treatments, but nothing could stop the secondary differentiation. Desperate, I tried to break off the engagement. But that guy, he wouldn't let me. He clung to me even tighter than before. Then, the thing I feared most happened. I entered heat in front of him. I was terrified. What if he despised me? What if he thought I was a monster, neither alpha nor omega? What if he found me disgusting, useless? But he said we were made for each other. I agreed to re-engage with him. From that day on, I looked forward to seeing him every day, always finding excuses to run into him. And then, I caught my wife on a date with another man. I was furious. He even covered the marks I'd left on his neck with a bandage. Was my husband ashamed of me? I deliberately spilled alcohol on the bandage so it would fall off. Hee hee, now everyone knows my wife already belongs to me. The cafes he frequented, I went. The dessert shops he liked, I went. Banquets he never attended, I went. Finally, fate rewarded my effort. During one wedding, I saw him stopped at the entrance because he had no male companion. I bribed his assistant a little so he could sneak in. Then, when he couldn't find a partner, I appeared. He fell for it completely, holding onto my arm the entire event. Our first long, intimate contact. My heart pounded non-stop. I even bribed the MC so that we were deliberately chosen for the kissing game. Hee hee, my wife kissed me first. I was ecstatic. After the wedding, I immediately went to get the pheromone enhancement surgery. I had to let my wife smell my pheromones. Let him know just how much I loved him.